Hey YouTube, it's Mark.
And Rocky.
And we are
This Cruise Life.
We are coming to you from Margaritaville at Sea, Paradise. It's hard to believe that it's been a year since we first sailed on board Margaritaville at Sea, Paradise.
If you watched that first video, you know that there was so much that we loved about the ship. However, there were still some things that we experienced that weren't so great.
So Margaritaville at Sea actually invited us back a year later to see, have those issues been addressed?
So let's head back to Paradise.
Now, before we jump back into Paradise, we do ask that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We love to have you as part of our growing cruise community.
Now, in traditional This Cruise Life fashion, we're going to talk about everything that we loved,
what we didn't love,
and what we hated about Margaritaville at Sea Paradise, starting with what we loved about the food. My first bites to eat on board, cheeseburger in paradise. Oh, and it was so delicious. Heavenly paradise burger.
And I absolutely loved the pasta station. Build your own, make your own pasta. It is delicious. And cruise tip, if you ask for it extra spicy, they will deliver. This is already one of the first changes we saw on board the ship this time around. The pasta was so much better this year.
I agree. It was so good. And also, I really enjoyed the paninis last time that we sailed on this ship, and they are still just as good. You can get them made to order, you can customize them, add or remove certain ingredients, and they are delicious.
One of our favorite places? Where do we love?
JWB Prime Steakhouse, and it happens to be on board the Paradise. Now, last time we didn't get to experience it, but we did go this time knowing how good of an experience it was on Islander.
We wanted to compare the two experiences. Does it hold up? Does it compare? And now what I will tell you is the menu is slightly different and the serving portions are slightly different than they are on Islander, which I thought was interesting. I figured that they would have been the same experience, but I'll tell you, I loved that food. I loved our time at JWB Prime Steakhouse on Islander, and I loved it on Paradise.
Now, I will say there was no Wagyu meatball. I'm sorry to report that information, but we still found other items that we absolutely enjoyed on the menu.
We sure did. Last year, actually, we were concerned that it was a carve-out of the main dining room, but actually the way that it is set up, you have no idea that you're connected to the Finn's restaurant at all. There's no noise bleed over. There's nothing like that. You actually feel like you're in your own steakhouse.
Right, and it was a great experience from start to finish.
Yep.
We also had the opportunity to experience the sparkling breakfast on board, and it was great. We actually used this as part of our debarkation for a nice, relaxed debark morning.
It was perfect. There were no announcements. There were no crowds. It was just us enjoying mimosas and huevos rancheros. Now, I will say, that is the only temperature issue I had on this entire sailing. The huevos rancheros were served on like an ice cold plate, which made the entire dish kind of cold. I'm not sure where they got that plate from, but it was delicious and I ate every bite. And lastly, I'm shocked to be adding this to the loved list because it is very rarely on a loved list on one of our videos in the food. But that dinner buffet on the second night with the Mexican buffet and Indian food, honestly, that was those fajitas were phenomenal. And the Indian food, absolutely, I loved it. We made it a point to go to the dinner buffet, and I am so glad we did.
I agree. I'm really glad that we had that opportunity to dine up there for dinner. It was so good. But there was some things on that buffet that made it onto our loved list, as well as our hated list. So stick around for that.
Okay, jumping into drinks. There's a lot to love about the food, but we were also thirsty. So we had the drinks wristbands, which I highly recommend. We bought them last year, and we had them again this sailing. I love those things. They give you 10 drinks at any of the bars around the ship. I also really love the variety of menus at the various bars. So you've got Euphoria, the
12 volt.
You've got the Stars on the Water.
License to Chill.
All of the bars have unique menus, which I absolutely love. And the very first drink I got was my Havanas and Bananas. I loved it a year ago, and I still love it today.
And I will say that they know how to make a margarita. Whether you want the perfect margarita or a pink Cadillac margarita, you are in good hands on Margaritaville at Sea.
Now, cruise tip, the pink Cadillac is not pink.
Nope.
Everyone gets confused by that one.
For the sail away party, they actually set up a margaritas to go stand on the main pool deck. Such a cool way to help disperse the crowds that are wanting to get a sail away margarita.
And you don't have to wait. But not to worry, if you're not feeling alcohol, they've got juices, they've got orange juice, they've got my favorite fruit punch.
That was good.
That was my go-to drink to rehydrate. And then they've got water stations too.
And lastly, we are so excited to know about this upcoming change that's going to be on the Paradise, and that is our favorite bar from Islander, Hemisphere Dancer Craft Spirits.
They're bringing it over. They shared with us that starting this year, they're going to be making some changes to Paradise, and that's going to be one of the new venues that comes over. Super excited. You're going to get one of your smoked old fashions, I'm sure. Okay, so there was a lot to love about the drinks on board.
Let's jump in and talk about the entertainment, because there was a lot going on this 2-night sailing.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
There is no reason a cruise this inexpensive has as good of entertainment as it has. I am blown away by the amount of shows that are on board.
Right, 2 nights, 3 shows. Wild.
What?
We saw one of our shows that we saw on Islander, and that was Caribbean Heat. They also had Radio Margaritaville live at sea, a great show. And lastly, Glow Show. Oh, so fun.
I loved that. Look at these aerialists and acrobats and the spinny things. I don't even know what half of these things are. But again, there were the shows in the main theater, but then there were live acts all around the ship. Right. One gal said this singer was so good, she would give Adele a run for her money. There's entertainment all over.
And because it's Margaritaville, there's also some Jimmy Buffett concerts that you can catch both in the Euphoria Lounge as well as Keys on the Water at the aft of the ship.
And don't miss the sail away party. I absolutely love that they do their sail away parties at 5 o'clock. It just totally is perfect for Margaritaville. They have the entertainers from the shows. They're out on the floor. They've got dance routines.
They brought out a bartender that did a whole show with the different shakers and mixers.
They do contests where you can win margaritas. I mean, it's a fun time. We like it on Islander, and we really enjoy it on Paradise.
And we also loved that this time there were no in-room announcements early in the morning. Last time we sailed on the Paradise, they came into our room to try to sell us excursions for the day. They woke us up at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Don't do that. Thank you so much for making that adjustment.
We love that change from last year. Speaking of, I also love the change we called out. Remember that daily schedule that was just front and back in like 4-point font? They've actually rolled out a cruise events, what's happening on board. It is actually a cruise planner for your 2 days on board. Love that change. Another thing that we saw change from when we sailed.
Right, and we saw that actually come over from Islander. It's the same exact format.
Yep.
We also got to know the cruise director, Terry. If you have the opportunity to sail with Terry, she's fantastic. She's everywhere, from the deck parties to the shows and everywhere in between. Awesome cruise director, great energy, and lots of fun.
In fact, that's one of the things that I love about Margaritaville at Sea. All of their cruise directors are so present. ZJ on the Islander, Terry here on Paradise. They're just everywhere. I just love that.
Yeah, and also Terry's assistant cruise director, Alejandra, was there also. She did a fantastic job at reeling in the crowds and getting everyone excited for what's going on.
The Quest game show, that was a ton of fun. Oh, look, they're singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat here. It was a great time.
And I think we've talked about this before, but the size of the gym on Paradise is huge.
It's big. Now, I will say, like Islander, we saw some of that fancy echelon equipment. It's out of order. It's not working there either. But because it's such a huge gym, it didn't really matter because there's so much other equipment there.
Right. Well, that's a lot to love about the entertainment on board. Let's switch gears and talk about the design and what we loved about Margaritaville at Sea Paradise.
Let's talk about the stateroom. Like last time, those staterooms are huge. We love these older ships that prioritize passenger comfort over cramming in as much stuff as they could. Love that stateroom, and it was spotless. So this was our biggest issue on our first sailing, is we had some issues with the cleanliness of our stateroom. It was clean, the bedding was clean, the stateroom was clean, the bathroom was spotless. Really appreciated that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, as we moved out on deck, there was that really fun catwalk, a really cool place to get a look around at the ship. You could take selfies with Paradise in the background. Such a cool spot.
Love that.
And also the theater. Now, I think we mentioned this in our first review of this ship of how much we love the old school feeling of this theater, and it still holds true.
Yeah.
Such a gorgeous space, rich in colors, love the red velvet tufted seats, beautiful spot.
I also love the redone pickleball court. And so they have, last time that added to that kind of cheap feeling. They have redone that space altogether. They've added all new chairs over in that space. Like the pickleball at sea looks really good on Paradise now. Last year, it didn't look so good, but now look at it. It's so much better.
Night and day difference. Yep. I will also say, I love my cheeseburger in Paradise. I said it at the start of this video. They had some amazing signage that was directing passengers to find Cheeseburger in Paradise. Yep. It's in a weird spot at the very aft of the buffet, so you got to know to go there, and the signage was great. It was spot on. Mm-hmm. And I also love the fact that they now have on board future cruise sales. So that's actually in the Compass Rose Conference Center, and it was definitely a void last time, but now they have that on board, and they're also selling cool packages for Islander that'll get you some onboard credit and discounts, which is really cool.
And I don't know who's in their marketing team, but I love this little flip-flop.
It's so cool.
And while I didn't mention it when I talked about the stateroom, the amount of storage in that stateroom, I said it was huge. There is storage everywhere. There are closets, there are drawers, there are cubbies, the bathroom has a ton of storage. Absolutely love that. We were able to put our suitcases inside the closet so we didn't have to worry about rolling them under the bed. Literally love that.
Right. Well, that's a lot to love about this ship so far. We're going to do a rapid fire of the other things that we haven't mentioned so far.
Let's go.
Starting with luggage drop. Oh my gosh, it was actually open this time around. There were crew members there waiting to greet us and take our luggage and check it in. It was such a breeze getting through security this time. We didn't have to check our bags and run them through the x-ray machines. Love that.
I love how they even moved the luggage drop station right next to where they bring the bags into the...
Makes sense.
It makes so much more sense. I also really loved, once we got into the terminal, it's so efficient now with boarding. There wasn't a single person in line that was waiting in queue. Last time, we waited 45 minutes in that queue. So much more efficient. Love that. Great job, Margaritaville at Sea.
And calling this out from something that we didn't love last year when we sailed, there was actually music playing in the terminal building this time around.
Yep.
Kind of brightened up the atmosphere and made it more enjoyable.
And I also, like last time, love that they've got the spa in the terminal. They've got the steakhouse there. They've
drinks
got
packages.
drinks package. You can actually buy all of those things right there, or at least research them right there. They've got all of that information right there. I think that is a really, really nice touch.
It is. And we mentioned it on Islander. We had faster chill for Paradise and absolutely loved this feature. The check-in process was super easy. They sent us into a specific room where we got to do the check-in there. They had pastries, they had coffees, they had water, they had sandwiches.
They had canapes.
They did. We felt like we were royalty joining the ship.
Faster Chill comes with priority luggage delivery, so the luggage was at the room. They actually put a VIP red tag on it, which I love.
Yes.
And the luggage was at the room by the time they were available at 2 p.m.
Right, and we also got wristbands, and those wristbands gave us priority seating at all of the shows, and it also just let anyone know that was part of the crew that, hey, we're VIPs.
I love Faster Chill. If you haven't booked it, book it for your cruise, trust me. The last thing and we didn't use this benefit, but it also comes with Express Debark.
Oh, yeah.
But because we do relax debark and we had sparkling brunch on that final day, or sparkling breakfast, we didn't use that feature, but it does come with that. So if you've got an early flight, you are literally the first people off of the ship.
And you know that we love to buy merchandise when we're on a ship, starting with a nice new little hat, so much fun. And I also got this cool t-shirt from Margaritaville. Fun.
And I've had my eyes on this since the inaugural last year on Islander. I love this sweatshirt. I also got myself a little piggy that I said I was going to get on Instagram. We bought so much merchandise that
we walked away with one of these towels.
They gave us a towel. They're like, hey, you've spent so much. Here's a free towel. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Margaritaville at Sea. Love the merch.
It was fantastic. And we did an excursion in Nassau. It was such a fun time, but the lead up to that excursion was phenomenal. They had everything set up so nicely. When we arrived to the meeting point, they had pastries, they had coffees, they had waters, sodas, and beers for sale.
It was great. They had all of your sundries that you would need if you needed sunscreen or if you needed hats or cover-ups. Like, it was so well organized. We said it on Islander.
Yep.
I'm going to say it again.
Yes.
Congratulations to the shore excursion team on Margaritaville at Sea. You were doing great work.
Nassau is a new port for Margaritaville at Sea Paradise, and they have some amazing excursions, especially the excursion at Margaritaville Beach Resort. Don't miss it. If you are docking there on Paradise, make sure that you book this excursion.
We're going to do a full review of that excursion, so don't you worry. Stick around to thiscruiselife.com and you'll have all of the details there. Another thing that we loved about our experience is the Wi-Fi. It worked flawlessly. We were able to upload, we were able to download, we were able to post. There were no issues, unlike last time. Now, again, I don't think it's going to win any awards for fastest internet at sea, but it did everything that we needed it to, which I loved.
And I will mention, as we were boarding the ship, I noticed that there was a crew member stationed outside of the elevator banks right there on deck 5. I loved that little touch. He was able to tell people where their muster station was, where food was available, where the nearest bars are. It was great.
And he was calling the elevators
He was calling
for
the
people.
elevator.
I loved that little touch. Speaking of the crew just in general, we love the crew on board Margaritaville at Sea. We've said this for years. The crew make the cruise, and truly, a year in, they are just as happy as they were a year ago. I actually think they're probably happier now that they're not just going to Freeport every 2 days.
I would imagine that that's the case.
Before we jump into what we didn't love and what we hated about our experience, I do want to call out the additional things that Margaritaville at Sea has made changes to that we called out in our original review as issues. Let's jump into those.
Starting with the flooring in the buffet, that area was kind of weird. It was a mixed match of different tiles. Maybe some of them were stained from what was previous there. That has all been addressed. The flooring looks gorgeous in Port of Indecision buffet.
Hey, while we're at the buffet, that midnight buffet looks so much better. That salad bar, remember that bowl of spinach that we saw last time? Look at this salad bar. I'm just going to pan over it here for a moment. It is absolutely wonderful for late night. Now, stick around because we're still going to talk about the late night buffet in our didn't love section, so don't go too far.
The muster process has improved from the last time. When we were on Paradise a year ago, you couldn't really hear anything, and now they have supervisors in the area and they're making sure everyone is quiet. Take a listen.
Jacket, which is stored in your cabin.
Now, we mentioned it last time, the odd placement of the outlet on the floor. I don't know what Costa was thinking when they first built this ship, but what I will tell you, so they haven't moved the outlet, of course, but what they have done is they've added a USB-C and a USB port, which we absolutely love.
Yes. And I'll talk about the cleanliness of the ship. It was great. The stateroom was nice and clean. We didn't have any worries there. No Clorox test needed. And up on the ship, there were some high points that are a little bit difficult to reach, and even those spaces were spot-free and dust-free.
I love that. We saw that on Islander, and we're seeing it on Paradise. Taking care of the ship. Now, one of the things that I called out in our first review was the pool table. Do you remember this pool table?
It was
How
gross.
terrible it looked. They have replaced that pool table altogether, and it looks so much better. So again, keeping in line of the upkeep of the ship.
Yeah. It was much easier to view your photos that are taken on board the ship. Now you just go into the Photoshop. They have touchscreen TVs where you can touch it in, scan your room key, and it will pull up all the photos associated with your account. Yeah. Now, just be aware, if you find something that you like, you can add it to your cart.
But once you go to get the total price, it just checks you out.
Yeah.
We were able to cancel our mistaken order, but that was a surprise to us.
Right. Fortunately, we did not get charged for the photo, nor did it print.
Not that we know of.
Right.
And the last change that I will mention that we specifically called out last time was around the debark process and the people saying, no, the passport line is this way, birth certificates is this way. We said, why is it so hard? Put signage in. Guess what? There are now signs every couple of feet showing which lane you need to be in if you have a passport, if you have a birth certificate. Great change.
And I also loved the addition of Smile and Go technology for the Port of West Palm Beach.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I do want to say that is a love about Paradise. The debark process was one of the most efficient that we have ever seen. Compare that to a year ago and
Yes.
like night and day.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Honestly, it felt like Margaritaville at Sea watched our review and used it as a checklist to address many of the things that we called out in the didn't love and hated section. The number of times that we said to each other, oh my gosh, here's another thing that they've changed. Here's another thing that they've changed. Like, I am so impressed with Margaritaville at Sea and their willingness to listen to feedback and to actually implement changes. Almost every single thing that we called out has been addressed, which is wild.
It makes us feel really good about the brand. We know that Margaritaville at Sea is growing and still learning about the cruise world, and they're doing such a great job listening to their guests and making those changes to the best of their abilities.
Now, with that said, you're sticking around for what we didn't love about our time on Margaritaville at Sea Paradise. So let's go there now.
Let's start Didn't Love with, it's just a 2-night cruise. It's such a tease. It's so short. You get on and then you're done. You get off of the ship. I understand it's not easy for everyone to be able to take that much time off, to be able to take a longer cruise, or maybe they're actually looking to experience a cruise for the first time, and this is kind of a little tester to get into the water. Either way, it was a little bit too short.
We wanted more time on Paradise. Okay, the pizza, we didn't love that it's still a charge on board. So Frank and Lola's, it's $8.99 for a 14-inch pie, and so it's not wildly expensive, but we don't love that there's a charge. We were gonna try it, but we did the buffet instead, and we fell in love. And because it was only 2 nights, we were full.
Right. And they have 3 shows, as we mentioned. 2 of them are on the same night. It was really difficult for us to be able to find time to have dinner with those 2 shows, so we ended up missing the first half of the second show just because there was no other way around it.
We also didn't love some of the wear that we are seeing on this ship. Now, I know that they're going to be doing some maintenance coming up, but look at these seats in the theater. Look at the seats at Euphoria. Just the 12-volt bar signage. Those are warping in the sun. That was something that I didn't notice that a year ago,
Right.
but it's definitely something that we hope that with some of the changes that are happening to the ship right now, that those will get addressed. The last wear and tear thing I'll mention is the shower basin and some of the trim areas in that bathroom. It is clear this is a 30-year-old ship, but this shower basin, it just doesn't look great. It doesn't present well, and hopefully that is something that the brand can fix.
And the other thing that I didn't love is if you're going to be sailing on Margaritaville at Sea Paradise, know that there is a fuel surcharge that's going to be charged to your account. Don't do that. Just add it to my overall total cost for the sailing instead of adding that on addition to what I've already paid. And there's acrylic signs all over the ship, which is great. We love that there's easy wayfinding, but you can tell that venue names have changed over the past year. And so it's kind of weird seeing these little spots that they change it over. Hopefully when they go through all of these renovations to the ship, they bring in new signage. Didn't love that.
Well, the ship and the stateroom were spotless. The one thing I do want to call it that did make my didn't love, and I've seen this in other reviews on the ship, is we did have some gnats in the stateroom. And so that was a didn't love. I don't know where those were coming from, but just keep that in mind.
There's also a lot of litter opportunities on the ship that can be easily addressed. Straws and straw wrappers, duplicate receipts that print out. I think a simple solution to this is when a bartender gives a straw to a guest, don't just give them the straw. Unwrap it and put it in the drink.
Yeah.
Eliminates so much, especially on those top decks where it's super windy.
And I don't love the double receipts. I ran after someone else's receipt on board, and she was like, "Did you just run after my receipt to make sure it didn't go in the water?" I said, "Yes, I actually did." I don't love all of the paper that is used, and so hopefully that's a tweak that can be made with technology. Same with the scanning the wristband. You have to scan that, and you have to scan your card. Hopefully there will be technology tweaks that address both of those concerns.
Even though there's no app to use, we're so used to those apps nowadays, they still have QR codes all over the ship, whether it's on your sail card to get into your cabin, or inside your cabin they have a little 3-piece card that you can scan, or at the bars, all sorts of different places where you can scan and get the digital copy of what's going on the ship, but still no app.
Not just what's going on the ship, but you can now get menus, you can get excursions. Like, I'm impressed with how much that experience has improved. And so while I can't heart something in an app, I actually have I feel like I had way more access to information than I did a year ago on board. And the last thing that I have to call out and didn't love is the sauna and steam room. It's in the locker room, and Margaritaville at Sea has made that a charge venue. I don't love that. I don't want to pay daily for it. And so I didn't love that it's still costing me money to use my sauna. Make that free.
Well, that's not a very long list of didn't loves, and I think we have an even shorter list of what we hated, so stick around.
Now, you heard a rarity when I opened up this video talking about the buffet in the loved section. Well, it also made our hated section. The lunch buffet was just not good. Every single item that I had on that buffet was dry, it was flavorless, it just was not good.
So let's see what Mark got. It's a little dry. It's got an okay flavor. I'm guessing it's
What flavor are you getting?
struggling with it. Pineapple, maybe? Not sure. It's terrible. Do not get the pork.
Thankfully, we had cheeseburger in paradise, we had build your own pasta, we had build your own panini. So cruise tip, maybe try some of the things on the buffet, but don't get disappointed at lunch if you don't like the items. There are really good items on that ship for lunch, but the buffet, it just really, really was weak.
Right.
Last thing I'll mention about that buffet, I promise, is that there's no signage on the sandwiches. We called it out in the first review, and I'm going to call it out again. I didn't know if there was turkey, I didn't know if there were allergens, and so as a result, I didn't enjoy any of the sandwiches from the late night buffet. Easy fix. And then the last thing, and it's a small thing. It is a small thing, but this Jell-O on board was just terrible. The other desserts were decent, but the Jell-O was, I did not like that. And so
No flavor, weird texture.
not sure what was floating in there, made our hated list. Okay, so that is a short list of things we hated this sailing. Honestly, let's jump into a recap.
Overall, we loved all of the changes that were made across Margaritaville at Sea Paradise.
You know, I honestly, if you ask some of my friends, I had some hesitations coming back to the ship based on the experience that we had last year, but I'm just so impressed and appreciative of all of the changes that we've referenced in this video and all of the improvements that have been made. I have zero qualms or zero concerns recommending. If you're looking for a 2-day cruise or a 3-day or 4-day cruise, if you're looking for a shorter cruise, I would have no issues recommending Margaritaville at Sea Paradise based on our experience this time around.
Keep in mind the tips that we shared on this video. In case the lunch buffet isn't quite what you're expecting, remember there's plenty of other food options that you can pick from.
Awesome. Rocky, question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
How many ships? We've not talked about this. How many ships?
Margaritaville at Sea has done something right with the cruise industry, and they keep continuing to evolve. I am so happy with the experience that we had. Our list of what we didn't love and hated was very short, and because of that, I think a 2-night cruise on this ship earns 4.5 ships out of 5.
Okay, I like it. I was in the four ships range myself. Some of the misses around the lunch buffet and some of the maintenance areas that I think are super easy fixes. But I can see 4.5 as, I mean, I really enjoyed it last year. I did, and you heard me say that in the review. If you go back and watch it in case you haven't,
Right.
You heard me say it a year ago. I really enjoyed the experience, but there were some deal breakers for me. I didn't have any deal breakers this time.
Not at all.
I'm looking forward to going back, probably the 4-day, but I'm looking forward to going back to the ship and seeing some of the enhancements and changes that they're making. And I promise we won't do another full one of these, but we will give you a recap of some of those additional changes. How
I
does
think
that
that's
sound?
fair.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you made it this far, we hope that you have given this video a thumbs up because you like it.
And I know you clicked that subscribe button early on in the video, so I don't even have to tell you that here.
And smash that notification bell so you can be aware of any other videos that we put out to the channel.
Awesome. Hey, until the next time we see you on Margaritaville at Sea or any of the ships that we sail, we've got a full list going on this year already. We'll see you on the ocean.
Bye.